Labdien! Un šodien mēs parunāsim par tādu nelielu personisku stāstu par skriešanu, manu personisko stāstu par skriešanu. And now I'll switch to English because I remembered I have to speak English here. Anyway, so it's going to be my personal story about running, my complicated relationship with running, basically. And I'll start with a very personal story again, a confession, basically. I have to tell you, back in high school, it was the beginning of the 90s. I actually had an official waiver, or a ban, if you say. In Latvian, it would be atbrīvojums no fizkultūras. So it was basically a waiver of all sports activities. I didn't have to do anything. So somewhere, somehow, in the schools, they discovered that I had flat feet, and that my back wasn't really right. I had some sort of a scoliosis or something like that, and that I wouldn't be able to do neither basketball, nor jumping, nor running, nor any of the other fun things. Anyway, so that's how I got the waiver. And in fact, I was actually quite happy with the waiver. And the thing I was really, really happy about was that I didn't have to do the long-distance running. You've done it in your school. You run 1, 2 laps or many other laps, you know, in the school stadium. And usually, after the first or second lap, my sides and my stomach started to ache. You know that feeling, right? Yes. I hated that feeling. And even if I tried very hard, I mean, even if I pushed myself very hard, all I could ever do was like grade 6 or 7 out of 10. What is that? I mean, I always wanted to be 8, 9, or 10 at least, you know. So from one side, I was really happy that, you know, I had this waiver because, you know, it didn't screw up my school report. So check it out. This is my school report. Actually, I had just 1.7 in Latvian language, I don't know for what reason, and then another strange subject, darbmācība. Anyway, but next to sports, you can see it just says dismissed. How cool is that, huh? Anyway, so looking back to this whole waiver thing, I definitely think right now that these sort of waivers should be banned in general, because they definitely contribute to the clumsiness of society. And I'll translate here, I think it's sabiedrības tīzlums. So, because, you know, if you look around, we are clumsy by definition, aren't we? I mean, we sigh and we sweat by the very definition of having to do something, not even running or something. I mean, I know people who drive 2 blocks with their car and they're late for meetings always. And I know people who can lay in for hours in front of TV. You know this sort of stuff. So we are clumsy. And here's the thing. What clumsy people need, they need a very simple thing to get them going. Nothing very complicated, but something very simple, an addiction. And running has actually turned out to be an addiction, not only for myself, but also for millions of people all over the place, all over the world. It's the thing that gets the clumsy people moving. Try it out yourself. Anyway, so how did I get into running? Because I was a total clumsy guy, and then I got into running. For my Master of Business Administration studies, like Zane, I also got the Fulbright scholarship to go to the United States. And the United States was my dream country at the time. It was the end of the 90s. I thought I knew pretty much everything about the United States. So when I went there, I thought, you know, I'd have no surprises. And the skyscrapers basically looked like I had imagined. Actually, Burger King tasted better than McDonald's, I have to say. But what struck me most and what really surprised me was that, you know, the first time I went to the walking promenade of Michigan Lake, I saw millions of people running. Everyone was running. Small, large, tall, not so tall, clumsy, not so clumsy, white color, blue color, any color you want. You know, everyone was running. It was like craziness. I couldn't understand what's the deal. So I went back to my flat, and I had a flatmate he was a Greek Hungarian. How cool is that? Huh? So, and I asked him, man, what's with the running? Why is everyone so crazy about it? And he said, man, relax. He said, you know, running, and this is the thing I have remembered for all my life, and this is what I tell to all my friends, he said, running is the only legal thing which will get you high. And he said, running is an addiction. It will make you move. It's the things that will make all the clumsy people move. Once you turn to running, you will not be able to turn back. And I said, okay, whatever, yeah. So he said, but you should try. Next week we have the Chicago Marathon coming on, and you should try how it actually feels. I said, fine, fine, all right. Will you join us? I said, me? I have flat feet. My back is not all right, and I have, medical waiver, actually. And he said, okay, my friends are coming from Budapest. They will be running. I said, what, from Budapest to run in Chicago? Why would you do that? He said, no, they're just regular people, no champions here. They are just regular people, and these are marathon tourists. That was the first time I heard such a term, marathon tourist. Anyway, so just for the sake of curiosity, I said, fine, I'll run. But just the 5K, all right? Just 5 kilometers. So here you go. I got my first number. It was in Chicago. I was running in jeans, and I got my first Adidas. I got my first Adidas shoes in the color I hated, in green. But they, they were right for my flat feet. So anyway, I ran. So, and on the number, maybe you can see it says Chicago Marathon 5K fun run. And back from school, I remembered 5K is no fun. Who are you trying to kid here? So anyway, but I ran. I said, I'll do it nice and slow, nice and slow. I'll do the first 3 kilometers very nice and easy, and maybe then I'll figure something out. So I started to run, and you know how it feels when kids are passing you and moms are passing you. It doesn't feel right, all right? So, and then suddenly I started to feel, this is my first official run, and I'm like the only one from Latvia running here. I have to represent my country, for God's sake. So I started to speed up, and I really did a fast run, which was a huge mistake. I mean, I didn't really have to do it. So, I finished. It was 28 minutes. It's really slow. But anyway, I finished. My head was going to explode. My heart was pumping. I was out of breath. And I said, never, ever in my life I will going to run again. But somehow, the next day, you know how after you've done something, this feeling of achievement comes to you. This feeling of recognition. When people come to you and they ask you a question like, Aigars, I heard you ran a Chicago Marathon. It's like, yes and no, I actually did just 5K. But anyway, it felt good. It felt good that I had done something. And it felt so good that I said, running is going to be my thing. I'm going to be a runner from now on. From total clumser to runner. And here I go. I started running. I registered for Elvis race. There was some other race. And I just kept running. And then I registered for Chicago Marathon. So next year, I decided I will train for the whole year. And I will do it. I will do my little Everest. I will do the Chicago Marathon. And that's what I did after years training. And this is me, the clumsiest guy in the school, and that's my best friend. He was always running, always very fast. So he came to Chicago to run with me. Anyway, I got then back home to Latvia after my studies, and then it was getting more interesting. In Latvia, of course, nobody had heard of running. Nobody was ever running for fun. Running was for freaks. My parents and my friends thought I had gone nuts. So they really thought, why would you run, Aigars? You have a waiver. You have a flat feet. You have your back is not all right. I mean, stop it right there. And the craziest thing, what they really didn't like, we runners have some funny clothing, and I'll show you some. And this is some typical runner shorts, as you can see. Now they don't see maybe nothing, they just seem just normal, but you see they have holes, they almost see-through, but they're really, really good for running. So as you can imagine, when I came back, it was in year 2000, and I was running in this sort of equipment in Vecmogravs, which was my neighborhood. Oh, it was a lot of fun. I got all different strange looks and that sort of thing. And, girls were walking from one side of the street to the other side just to avoid me. And parents were hiding their kids. And thank God police didn't arrest me or something. But, but from time to time it started to get better and better and better. I actually infected some of my friends, and I said, listen, running is the only legal thing which will get you high. Try it. And I persuaded a couple of friends to actually start running, and a lot more people actually got involved with this. So after a while, we said, let's do something big. We have to do something big. You just can't just run like this, So we said, okay, let's go to New York Marathon, because New York Marathon is the marathon of marathons. It's a legend. Everyone wants to go there. They have like 150,000 applicants and only 40,000 people can actually run. So it's like a lottery. You have to win the lottery. So there are 4 friends of us, and we all won the lottery. How cool is that? So we all printed these beautiful T-shirts with Vaira Vīķa Freiberga on the chest, and we went and ran and finished the New York Marathon. Why am I telling about New York? Because in New York, for the first time, I thought that the marathon is something that every mature city actually deserves. That every major capital in Europe or in the United States or anywhere actually deserves a good marathon, because it's an event that actually pushes people to move. All the clumsy people, kicks them, gets them going. So that was the first time when I really thought about New York Marathon. So the next day, when we finished, we were walking around very proudly with the medals of New York Marathon in the Central Park, and I sat down on a bench and read some sort of a book on history of New York. And it says, the first New York Marathon happened in 1970. It had 127 runners. 55 of them finished. And they had 100 spectators. And then, so I thought, if they achieved, in 34 years of time, if they achieved, 40,000 runners, then if I go back to Riga, then by my 50th birthday, we could actually have at least 5,000 or 10,000 runners. And then I decided to move, and what we did is, right away I went to Starbucks. They had Wi-Fi. I Googled the email address of the organizers, and I asked them, hey, my name is Nords, and I'm from Riga. I really liked your race. It was really good. I want to do something like this in Riga. Can you meet tonight and tell me how to organize it? But nobody ever, nobody ever replied, yeah. So I thought, yes, they're afraid of competition. So anyway, we got back from New York, and then that's when the thing started to go. And about that time, Yelena Prokopchuk, she won New York 2 times, so it was getting better and better, actually, for the whole movement. And I made an appointment with Aigars Nords. He was then the mayor of Riga, and we were discussing the whole thing for some time, and finally he said, okay, have your marathon, we will close the streets with one condition. You have to look for finances yourself. And, finance is something I have been looking before, but marathon is something I haven't done ever before. So anyway, so we started to look for the finances, and we had to come up with some sort of a forecast for how many runners we will have, because nobody will give us any money if we didn't have any forecast. So we made this very optimistic forecast of 5,000 people running in 5 years. And for me, this forecast seemed overly ambitious. I thought something's wrong with it, because nobody is running right now. And actually, when we went around and offered with this fancy PowerPoint presentation and offered it to many, many people, there are many people who said, this is never going to work. I know a lot of big shot marketing directors who said this is never going to be working. I will not name any names now, but anyway, so they said this is never going to be working, 5,000 people running in Latvia, never. And actually, it was Mr. Flix from Air Baltic who was in different opinion. When we were talking with him, he said, only 5,000? What kind of ambition is that? You should aim for 20,000 people. And that was back then in 2006. It was a huge mindset, so thank you, Mr. Flix, for changing this. So when we had this final presentation for Nordea Bank, and when they asked that question about the number of participants, I decided to make things up a little bit. I said, okay, we're going to have 5,000 runners in 3 years, okay? So anyway, that's just a little story of how we sold it to Nordea, and thanks to them, definitely. And this is how it then spread. As you can see, this is the whole forecast. The blue one is the number of runners, how it actually developed. It developed from scratch, from basically just a couple of hundred runners. And then this year, in 6 years, we managed, it was 18,000 runners from 59 countries, which felt good. And but these are just numbers in general. But what really is the best thing what happened is that, you remember I was telling about these pants It was shame running around some time ago. But now what has happened, it's fame to run around. I mean, you can go on with these right now in the center of Riga, and everybody will love you. You can even, if you don't like these guys, you can try 6. This is even better. And so the running culture has really, really developed. It has taken off, and that I think is and I think we can turn the last slide. So what happened really? What we did in the meantime during these 6 years, I think we managed to tell the story. You know, the story I was talking about, the story my Greek-Hungarian roommate told me, that, you know, running is the only legal way to get high, that it's an addiction, that once you turn to it, you will never turn back. So that's what we did, I think. So my suggestion for you would be, go out there and run, and never turn back. So thank you.